Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's your host, Raul Infante. We're Taking Dish Sports here with my co-host, Hugo Dominguez.
How's it going, Raul?
Good. So we're just going to cover some UFC buzz. We're also going to cover some news. And we're also going to cover Fight Night 147 and also have our predictions for Fight Night 148. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're going to start off with some news. Unfortunately, Tony Ferguson's having some trouble at home. Looks like his wife put a restraining order on him against her and her son. Tony Ferguson, it seems, kidnapped his own son, had him for 6 days. And if you go online, you can look it up. She's reported a whole string of events that starting in February into mid-March that just shows his mental health might be deteriorating. All the wars Tony Ferguson's been in, this looks like signs of early CTE. It's pretty sad. What do you think about this, Raul?
I think it's unfortunate. You're looking at the football players and wrestlers and seeing what damage is causing to these guys. So it's sad that you see a guy like Tony Ferguson, such a fan favorite, coming out and having these early signs. And it's not good, obviously, for the UFC having these fighters coming out with CTE because how serious the mental health aspect of it is. I say Tony Ferguson, I'd rather not see you fight and take care of your mental health before anything else. What's your take?
Yeah, up to me, I don't see Tony Ferguson in the octagon ever again. His mental health is deteriorating. We know what it's from. Let's not lie to ourselves. We know he's been through wars. He's been hit in the head a lot. I think he should never step in the octagon again. The UFC needs to show that they care about the mental health of their fighters. You have Conor McGregor tweeting like, I can't wait till he gets back. I never want to see him back in the octagon. I want to see him be a healthy father and husband.
Yeah, so speaking of Conor McGregor, some interesting things happened in Miami. Go ahead and cover that, Juice.
Yeah, it looks like we all seen the TMZ video. Conor McGregor smashed a fan's phone. A moment of anger. You can see he picks up the phone after. Maybe he regretted it. There's a chance he gets a felony strong-arm robbery, felony criminal mischief charge. My question to you, Raul, you think the UFC should add any punishment to this, or?
I absolutely think that the UFC should hold him accountable. He's the face of the UFC, and this is a growing sport, as we continue to say. A lot of young kids, a lot of young fighters are looking up to this guy. If you hold him accountable, it puts everybody in line as well. He's gotten away with a couple serious incidences, and it doesn't seem like the UFC is penalizing him enough. Enough is enough, Conor McGregor. You're the face of the UFC, just as we stated. It's time that you start being held accountable for your actions.
Yeah, I agree completely. They need to held these fighters accountable for their actions outside of the octagon as well. These fighters are supposed to be role models. They need to have a conduct policy and follow it and be consistent, because I feel like Conor McGregor's punishments has been maybe a little bit inconsistent. Moving on to the fight card here. Actually, we have one more piece of news. One more piece of big news announced last night in London.
Don't forget.
I can't forget. Michael the Count Bisping, first 2019 Hall of Famer for UFC. What'd you think of this news, Raul?
Great news. Listen, he's given us so many memorable fights. Him getting KO'd by Hendo, and then that Superman punch that after he got knocked out, and also winning the title from Luke Rockhold on a short notice.
Yeah, and that war with Anderson Silva, what a great
Classic.
fight, and one we'll never forget. Great news for Michael the Count Bisping. Now we can move on to the card. There's a couple of prelim moments, we wanted to talk about, starting with Molly Meatball McCain. Looks like her eyeball looked like a meatball by the end of the last round there, Raul.
Yeah. She went out and she was fired up, in the weigh-in, she went there to represent her people in London. She did a great job. I was just worried that she wasn't going to be able to back it up. She went in that fight and was backing it up. In the third round, though, I'm going to cover one thing. She got cracked with a right hook by Priscilla. And I thought, maybe 4 minutes left in the third round. The ref was going to, hit a timeout on the fight and get the doctor to check the eye, see how it went. He didn't. He waited till there was 30 seconds left on the last round, on the third round, to get the doctor to check in. I didn't agree with that because if the fight gets stopped there, then Priscilla wins by TKO, and she lost the first and second round. Molly did a great job throughout the entire fight, and luckily the doctor let her continue, even though she clearly couldn't see out of that eye. So I did not like how the ref handled that situation there.
Yeah, exactly. The ref brought the doctor in too late. You know, the eye was damaged even before this point. If he wanted her eye checked, he should have done it earlier. That's a ref intervening too late. And then we have another prelim fight where a ref maybe didn't intervene as much as he should have. What do you think about this fight, Raul?
Yeah, so he's referring to Safarov, you know, the another Dagestanian fighter. I don't know what they're putting in the waters of these Russian guys, but they're coming in. You know, I knew it was going to be a tough fight for his opponent because, you know, making a debut against a guy like that would be tough. But I want to talk about the dirty tactics. It overshadowed Safarov's performance. He did a lot of great damage on the ground and pound, but it was unfortunate for his opponent. I think he should appeal this fight because there was a few times that he had heel hooks and Safarov kept grabbing the cage. I don't know how many times a referee had to tell him, get your hands out of the cage, get your hands out of the cage. And he actually used the cage to get out of the heel hook, out of that position, and then end up on top. You know, I feel like the referee should have even considered disqualifying him, you know, because he took a point away after like the seventh time that he told him. So I was extremely upset seeing that happen. I wouldn't want that happening to me. So imagine his opponent. I hope he appeals that.
Yeah, and we all know how devastating heel hooks can be from the BJ Penn fight. Somebody can finish a fight with a heel hook. So having a fighter get out by the means of grabbing the cage, which we all know is illegal, that's no good, man.
Yeah. So we're gonna go on and actually go to the card. Go ahead and start that off.
Yeah. First fight here, Claudio Silva versus. First fight we're gonna cover Claudio Silva versus Danny Roberts. Good fight. Danny Roberts actually showed some great submission defense throughout the fight. He gets out of a arm triangle choke. Just at the end of the fight here, Danny Roberts is in an arm bar. Maybe yells in pain, but what he definitely does is he rolls out of the armbar, but the ref calls the fight due to verbal tappage from Danny Roberts yelling out in pain. I don't agree with the stoppage. We all saw by the time the ref broke it up, he was already out of the armbar. Had escaped many submissions throughout this fight with Claudio Silva. What do you think about that stoppage, Raul?
What I listened to was the audio on the replay, just like everybody else, because I didn't agree with the call as well. I heard tap from somebody outside of the octagon, but just like you said, I just heard Danny Roberts screaming. He had a great performance. I thought he was gonna go and get a decision at the end of the fight. You could tell he was obviously extremely frustrated by the decision because, like I said, I thought that he did well enough to come out with a victory at the end.
Totally.
So that's unfortunate that ended up happening to him. The UFC needs to look at the rule book and seeing how they could fix this problem so this doesn't happen to another fighter.
Yeah, I mean, just a bad stoppage by the ref. It's an uneducated moment, in my opinion. MMA is a tough sport. There's going to be yelling in pain. I know there's some other, jiu-jitsu, there's verbal tappage. I need a little clearance on the rules of UFC, but I don't believe verbal tappage unless, a fighter's yelling tap or something like that is in the rule book. So a little clarification on that, UFC. And let's move on to the next fight here. Nathaniel Wood was pretty impressive, huh?
Yeah. I mean, for such a young guy, he showed a lot of experience in that fight. Go ahead and start covering that.
Yeah, I mean, Jose Quinones, he showed some good grappling defense in the beginning. He kind of had nothing on the feet for Daniel Woods, and overall, for Nathaniel Wood. Overall, just a dominant performance from Nathaniel Wood, in my opinion. Quinones gets out of that Darce choke in the second round maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, and Nathaniel Wood ends up on his back, gets the rear naked choke, was dominating on the feet before that, and just an overall great performance from him. I want to see him fight again in the future. Yeah,
I would love to see Wood also fight. And Quinones, just a quick short thing. Quinones really has to work on his striking. He's bouncing around a lot. He was off balance every time Wood hit him because he's jumping so high up. And then he needs to work on his hand strikes. He had a lot of kicks, and just like you said, the high level jiu-jitsu to be able to get out of those submission attempts. But in order to really excel in this sport and in that division, he's gonna have to work on his striking. So we're gonna move on, and we're actually gonna go to the Volkan versus Dominic Reyes fight. Go ahead and start.
Yeah, another ref decision I don't agree with here. I had Volkan definitely winning round 1 and 2. I saw a lot of people online, maybe Reyes took round 3, but what I saw from Volkan is stepping forward, dominating the striking on the feet, hitting Reyes in the head a lot. and causing damage. I don't think Reyes' strikes were really causing damage to Volkan Ozdemir. What did you think?
I thought from the beginning it was Volkan's match. He was a ring general in there. He was slipping punches. He was the one creating the offense. He was pushing Dominic Reyes the entire three rounds backwards. When I saw that he was even shooting against Reyes and really pressuring and countering and using every aspect of the game, I thought that he easily got 30-27, 30-27, or 29-28. But for Volkan, not for Reyes, and this is a crush for somebody like Volkan that had back-to-back losses. This would have been a great bounce-back fight against a fighter that was 10-0 undefeated in the UFC, and then you hand the victory to Reyes when he did not deserve that. Volkan should have gotten the nod on that fight.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Volkan, to me, showed what he needed to show in that fight. I'd have to look at the significant strikes, but to me, he outstruck Dominic Reyes on the feet during that fight.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey, guys, like, subscribe, comments, feedback, show love. We appreciate all of it.
And make sure you hit that bell button for more notifications. All right, so we're going to kick it off and continue with the card. We're going to start off with the Leon Edwards versus Gunnar Nelson. Go ahead.
Yeah, Leon Edwards said before this fight he wanted to show his grappling skills off, and I think he accomplished that greatly. Great takedowns in the fight. He ends up actually dominating, taking his back and dominating on top there. Good control in the grappling. I was very impressed. He even got the knockdown in round 2, the ground and pound. Great performance by Leon Edwards, clear-cut winner. Great performance by him.
Yeah, I also... I'm going to go back to that knockdown in the second round. I loved how he knew that Gunnar Nelson was going to try to take him down. That's his game. That's his bread and butter right there. What Leon Edwards did was he hit him with the shoulder and then instantly followed up with the straight left, causing Gunnar Nelson some damage and ended up going down. Congratulations to Leon Edwards for that performance. I'm going to bring up one random thing, though, that I did not like. That struck me uncomfortable while I was watching this fight. It got me a little nervous. And it was the judges. I thought it was a clear-cut Leon Edwards fight the entire way. I didn't think that it should have been a split decision.
That's a great point, actually.
I thought that was one of those political craps that happens, in boxing. You don't see it that much in UFC, but Gunnar Nelson was the guy, there in London. Edwards is also from there, but I thought it was going to be a political thing where they gave Gunnar Nelson that decision. And, I was already nervous with seeing the Dominic Reyes one. So I was
just going to say, we just saw the fight before.
Exactly.
The judges did not do their job right. This is a dominant performance, maybe a 30-27 scorecard you're expecting. Right? Even in the third round, Leon Edwards is on bottom. And Gunnar Nelson's in mount, and he didn't take advantage of this position. The whole minute. He didn't posture up. He didn't ground and pound. Leon Edwards was able to just hold on, which is smart by him because we all know he's getting the decision. But it ends up being a split decision. So, I don't agree with that either. I think it was a dominant performance by Leon Edwards.
Exactly. So, hey, we're going to move on to the main event, Darren Till versus Jorge Masvidal. Go ahead.
Yeah, what an entertaining fight. Till before the fight in interviews was saying he wanted to finish in the first round, which kind of scared me because in our last video we were saying if Till to win this fight, he needs to keep the distance, he needs to fight smart, hit his shots and get out. He does a good job striking in the first round. He knocks Masvidal down with the straight left, it's just. Masvidal starts coming back actually at the end of the first round. He's backing up during the fight, but he starts to find his range, get the counter punching going, and then beginning of the second round, we all saw it happen. He did the stance switch, 2 left hooks, and then 1 more on the ground for a good measure. Great fight.
Yeah, I'm going to cover, one random thing again. Was that the quickest timeout called in a main event fight? As soon as the fight started, Masvidal
starting off with the low blow.
He tried to. Obviously, it wasn't meant to be a dirty tactic at all. But I just thought it was bizarre and quick how quick that fight was called on time.
I saw the replay after. It hit him right in the family jewels there.
Exactly.
So I think he was going for a front kick, and I said, Till was saying he wanted to knock him out in the first round. So I think Masvidal, wanted to come out strong right away, and it's also been a while since he fought. So he wanted to come out strong right away. Kind of ended up in an awkward moment, but went on from there.
Hey, he didn't look like he was out for almost 500 days. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
You know, he started off and just like you said, Juice, Darren Till caught him with a lovely straight punch. You know, Masvidal did say that you know, Darren Till felt really, really strong. I know in the last video you also covered that Darren Till has an 88 takedown percentage. In that fight, Masvidal was also able to take him down, which was surprising. I thought it was going to be a stand-up fight the entire time. Mm-hmm. And Masvidal stated that after he took Till down, you know, it took away from Till's aggressiveness and power, and he was able to, put his foot forward and be the aggressor in the fight.
Yeah, that's a great point, Raul. Darren Till, obviously the bigger fighter, but you know, Masvidal before this fight in interviews and stuff, he grew his hair out. He looks very calm in these interviews. He went away for the reality show, but like he said, you know, it was a physical show. His cell phone got taken away. He got to escape, clear his mind. You know, a fighter with a clear mind is a scary fighter. We see when Conor McGregor comes out there calm, you know, with his arms behind his back, we know he's going to perform well. So, I mean, being a calm fighter is good for him, and I think that's part of the reason he got this win, got this knockout. He was focused. Even though he gets knocked down in the first round, he's able to create the counter punches in the end of the first round and in the beginning of the second round and get the knockout. Great performance by Masvidal.
Yeah, what a brutal knockout. Yeah. That was an amazing move. He used that Tyron Woodley stand switch, and then went over with the overhand left. Boom, connected perfectly, and it was scary because Till was out the second that he connected, so he was able to connect another left hook.
And then the ground hit, the ground strike as well.
Then the impact, exactly. So he had 4 different impacts in a matter of, 3 seconds?
Yeah.
In his backyard. That was sad to see. You could hear a pin drop because all the fans were just shocked of what happened.
Yeah, hometown boy went down, crowd goes silent, and Masvidal said before the fight he loves to silence crowds. And this is going to move him up in the rankings. You know, Till was ranked 3rd, so he's got to move up. He's, you know, getting close to asking for a title shot. Maybe one more fight and he's in there, number 1 contendership.
Yeah, one thing that I would like to see Darren Till do is, you know, he's 24 years old. He's a big boy. Masvidal looked like a welterweight in there yesterday, and Darren Till looked huge. I know that's probably why they call him Gorilla, but I think his best work is probably going to be as a middleweight. He can continue right now in the welterweight division because he is young, but the older that he gets and the more damage that he takes, he's going to have to, you know, go to the middleweight division. Look, Robert Whittaker got knocked out by Stephen Thompson as a welterweight. He moves up to middleweight and ends up winning the title, and he holds the throne there. Same thing could happen for Till. He's an extremely young guy. He's going to be in the sport for a long time as long as he takes care of himself. His best form could be in the middleweight division. You know, after this fight, I think for Masvidal, what I would like to see is him fight Leon Edwards.
Yeah,
let's go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, they built it up for us already. We had some extracurricular activities. Masvidal, he was in a post-fight interview. Leon Edwards, I guess, was off on the side, mouthing off, saying, you know, are you ready for July? Something about us fighting in July. And Masvidal's a man of his word. You know, he's a grown man. He said, say it to my face. He went over there, and in his own words, he gave him the 3-piece with a soda.
Yeah. He was stating that Leon Edwards put his hands up, and, you know, honestly, I probably would have swung there too.
UFC fighter puts their hands up, you got to be ready. Because Leon Edwards, we saw in his fight, you know, can strike quickly. So I don't blame Masvidal for what he did. What do you think UFC is how they're gonna react to this? Should they fine these guys? Suspensions? What do you think?
No suspensions.
No,
we want to see this fight happen.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
find them, put them in the octagon where they could just hash this out. Shake hands, do whatever you guys got to do after the fight, and then we just move on to that division that's hot right now.
Yeah, I mean, we got 2 fighters here who just finished fighting, so their testosterone's up. You know, they're backstage. They cross paths. It's expected. You know, these are fighters. It's what they do. I don't think they should get a huge penalty for it. I think we should see this fight, and maybe that's a number 1 contender match, and you have, you know, Usman versus Covington in the meantime.
Yeah, so that wraps it up there for Fight Night 147. We're going to move on to Fight Night 148. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got a fighter that I'm keeping my eye on. I've been keeping my eye on him since Tough 26, Luis the Violent Bob Ross Pena. He's coming off a loss, but I think, you know, he's got a bright future in the UFC. It's his only loss. He won his fight in Tough 26, but he broke his foot, and then he won in the Tough finale and lost to one of his castmates a couple months after that. I want to see him come back into the win category. and that way we can continue to see him be successful in the UFC as an entertaining fighter. I like to watch him fight.
Yeah, there's also a fight that caught my eye that I'm going to be looking forward to. It's Formiga versus Figueiredo. You know, this is the fight that Formiga is the number 1 contender for the flyweight title, and then Figueiredo is number 4. So is that going to be potentially, a fight that one of your favorite fighters is going to be fighting in Henry Cejudo soon?
Yeah, Henry Cejudo. Is this a number 1 contender fight? We got a number 1 contender and a number 4 undefeated contender. I want to know what's going on here. Is Henry Cejudo moving up to fight TJ Dillashaw for the rematch, or are we going to see one of these flyweights go up against Henry Cejudo? That division's kind of in limbo right now. I want to see it come back. I love that division. You know, those light guys, they go hard, they go at it.
Yeah, I think what they should do is just fight each other. Cejudo goes up and fights TJ for the rematch in the bantamweight division. Then goes back down and just defends his flyweight title because he's too small to be a bantamweight. In my opinion, I think it translated well when TJ moved down, but him moving up, I don't think it's gonna be as good. So just real quick, I'm gonna give my predictions on who I'm gonna pick for Curtis Blaydes versus Justin Willis and Stephen Thompson versus Pettis. I'm gonna take Curtis Blaydes versus Justin Willis. The only guy that Blaydes has lost to is who?
Is Francis Ngannou, and he can sleep anybody at any moment. I actually got Curtis Blaydes in this fight too. In the main event, I'm going Pettis here. He's moving up a weight class. I think he's going to have a little more power. Thompson's been kind of on a lull there. I think Pettis takes that win.
Well, I got Thompson. We'll see.
We'll see.